Emperor of the Three Indias. The Three Indias. The Three Indias. You need both peace and power. A wise man told me that water is also ice, and we need both peace and power. Prester John, we on your ass, Prester John. Love to the familia. Alright, this is part 10 of the investigation of Prester John. Let's go. Prester John was Raja Chola II, Prince Jaredon Brugatuni, the first Christian emperor of the Three Indias. So we're going to get to the bottom of this Christian emperor. Now, remember this manuscript, because we're about to go in on this manuscript just a little bit. Raja Chola II, Jaredon. Now look at what the dates they're given, right? 1163. Other docs say that Prester John's kingdom was taken out by Genghis Khan or Genghis Khan. You know, watching that series on Netflix, that Marco Polo, and they give you a hijacked version of what's going on, but there's always them babies in the bathwater. Remember Moshe? Moshe was also a baby in the bathwater. And Moshe was taking out the bathwater. And we must take out the babies to connect back to Moshe, back to our law, back to the indigenous truth, the foundational legend. So this Christian emperor, they're calling Prester John, which we understand our timelines, because at 1165, and it's linking back with this letter of King David. And what are we saying, Did King David himself write this letter? Is this a descendant of David who wrote this letter? But whoever wrote this letter began it with I, John, priest, by the almighty power of God. Now, I basically lean on the side of hijack until proven otherwise. They put all this Lord, Jesus, Christus. But I'm trying to find the babies with you. So what is this John, this king, saying to the Prince of Constantinople, greeting him? Should you desire to learn the greatness and excellency of our exaltedness and of the land subject to our scepter, this is from King David or Prester John, 1165. Then hear and believe that I, Prester Johannes, Prester John, the Lord of Lords, surpass all under virtue and under heaven in virtue and riches and in power. 72 kings pay us tribute. Did King Solomon have 72 kings paying him tribute? Did King David have 72 kings paying him tribute? Where are we connecting these dots? Where are we ciphering this? In the three Indies, the three Indies. Prester John, Emperor of the Three Indias. And this is Prester John's Emperors, showing us again that this is a title, Prester John. It is an emperor title. John, Prester John, priest king, emperor of the Three Indias or Indies. Remember the dumb Diversas saying, subject all the sins and pagans capture them, invade them, take all their shit, all the people of the Indies, all the enemies of Christus, Krishna, Buddha, Brahma. Oh, we're going to get into some Brahma drop. We're going to surf the wave of what they're trying to connect to India. We're going to see what they're hiding in there. We're going to find this because we got foundation. We can do that. So this Prester John is Lord of Lords. He surpasses all under heaven in virtue and riches and power. 72 kings pay his tribute in the 3 Indies. Our magnificence rules and our land extends beyond India. India, 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 India. Why does India and Indies keep coming up? What's the connection? When our brother Lex Will showed us that video with the, cat in India, and they were looking for the Indians in India, and it was an Indian Hindu person looking and an African person. They were both taking them to this, colony of or this, group of Negroes. That's all you can really say. I mean, they just looked like they was over there right off the block. So when they went into India and they went to find the Indians in India, they found Negroes. And the Africans said, yeah, we don't normally get along with them all the time. What history are we talking about, and what's connecting in India? What's the indigenous Indian in India? So when you hear India, don't think hijack. Don't think what you think of an Indian today. That'll be like thinking of an American or a European. When you know those people that you consider Europeans don't come from Europe. And you know those that they consider American don't come from America. And those that you consider Indian aren't from India. So what's the indigenous truth? You see, because when you uncover the layers of your indigenous truth, you see the entire board. You see the entire chessboard. You discovering yourself discovers the world. And that's what they're afraid of. That's what know thyself and knowledge is power. Gain your power. Prester John, Lord of Lords, surpasses all under heaven in virtue, in riches, and in power. Peace and power. 72 kings pay us tribute. In the 3 Indies, our magnificence rules, and our land extends beyond India, where rests the body of the apostle Thomas Judas the Twin. Thomas Judas the Twin. Thomas Judas the Twin. Judas the Twin. Let's just keep going. I mean, are we talking? Yeah, that's right quick. Now remember, in our OSB, in the glossary, we're in the glossary. When you go to Shem, it says one of the ancient names of India. Then it says the sea submersion of Pan. Remember Pan and the connection to Mu and Pan, the submerged islands west of America. Oh, you forgot what's west of America. The west. All right. Shem, one of the ancient names of India. Why is Shem one of the ancient names of India? Let's go to Judas right quick, since we saw that Thomas Judas. Judas, from the Persian name Zuda or Zodas, betrayer of Zoroaster. See Book of God's Word. So we got this Zoroaster predating this Christ, who also has a betrayer named Judas. So who's Zoroaster? Oh, we gotta get to it. Chicka recta to the fecta. And then we gotta remember that this Prester John, this 3 Indies situation, Christian emperor, was he? Why was the Christians looking for his help? Why were they looking to ally with this guy against the Muslims, against the Islamic invasion that they were fighting off. Whether you're talking about the Moors in Spain and the Roman situation there. We read in the OSB how Thoth was raising up all his energy. You know what I'm saying? You know, all this stuff is angelic wars, and we're over here fighting it. You see all the pawns. These are the pawns, but it's really going on in these lower heavens, and they're controlling all this shit. They were. The first Prester John and Christian emperor of the three Indies, the so-called Voynich manuscript, is a 15th Voynich manuscript. We're going to get in on this today. It's a 15th century copy of the original, which was written by him in the 12th century. So according to this particular, link here, y'all go look this up. The Voynich manuscript is a manuscript that was copied in the 15th century, which means the 1400s, and was written by Raja Chola II Jeridan, the first Prester John, in the 12th century, which is the 1100s, the same time as the letter of King David. 1165, 12th century, right? So here's someone existing in the 12th century. Here's a manuscript that's now existing in the 12th century. And a letter from this King David with the title of priest Johannes. All these are titles. Even this David is a title, remember? Okay. Close my other link that I had it up. But yeah, even this David's a title. Matter of fact, it's worth getting it. Because I got to get it back. And I know exactly what page it's on, so it can't hide from me again. Oh, you'll never hide again, Prester John. You can't hide in timelines. We know your name. We know what they're calling you, Prester John. Prester John, you thought you could switch names and titles and things? You thought you could run away and call yourself all kinds of things? You thought you could be all over the place, Prester John? They tried to make you a Christian emperor, Prester John. Are you a hijack, Prester John? Prester John, are you a hijack? Or is Prester John? Oh man, we're almost there. Oh, here we go. Huh. Did Prester John live in a tent? Throughout the vastness of his empire. What empire? What empire does Prester John live in that has vastness? Oh yeah, by the way, we'll get to that. Lord of Lords, surpass all under heaven in virtue, in riches, and in power. 72 kings pay us tribute, and the three Indies, our magnificence rules, and our lands extend beyond India, where the body of the holy apostle Thomas, Judas the twin. Is this the Judas that betrays Zoroaster? It reaches towards the sunrise over the ways, and it trends towards deserted Babylon near the Tower of Babel. 72 provinces, of which only a few are Christian, serve us. Each has his own king, but all are tributary unto us. Prester John lived in a tent. Throughout the vastness of his empire, he had no fixed abode, but perambulated his nomadic court according to the exigencies of politics or war. Now, hear what they call him. Lebna Dangal Dawit, which the Portuguese contemporary simplified to David. Dawit, David. They call him the young David, according to his namesake and alleged ancestor. They call Prester John David according to his namesake and alleged ancestors. So we got some of this before, but we're just going back to it. So when you see David or David, he even has it here on this link. David the first equals David. Now they have a 1382 date. All right, so we're getting this all together. This is still 14th century. We have a 13th century situation. 11, so we have all these titles. Remember, we're just talking titles here. We're talking about the Prester Johns, the emperors of the three Indias. All right, man, let's just keep going because we're going to have fun. So I've been meaning to get to this. I've been meaning to dig on it. And like I hear it goes, this is out of a wonderful, wonderful book called The Way, the prophetic messianic voice to the path of the Edenic kingdom. All right, written by Rabbi Shalamim Y. Hawi. All right, let's go. So now we're going to get into a hijack's mind in the sense of, you know, it's going to be a lot of babies, you know, but I need you to see yourself. And even this person's going to, you know, give you some great babies, man, so you can see yourself. But when we get into the Brahmins and Abraham and all this kind of stuff, they always try to make things the same thing. People are always trying to hijack this and that. But let's just surf it. I mean, let's see if it connects. We'll know. We'll feel it, right? We're doing this together, so let's go. A strong point for a common Brahmin Hebrew origin is the fact that both communities have been proclaimed priests from the beginnings of their recorded history. It may also be observed in this respect that the Hebrews, as well as their Indian counterparts, Brahmins, considered themselves as the chosen people of the eternal Creator. The Hebrews started their odyssey in history as a kingdom of priests. Exodus 19:6. Likewise, the Brahmins have also been a community of priests since the beginning of their history. Abraham himself was the son of a chief priest, Terah. The Hindus called their priest Rabbi. The high priest of the Enochic Essene. Remember these Essenes. Remember we talked about these Essenes in the OSB. And we're going to get back into the OSB when it, you know, talks about Abraham. Matter of fact, just right quick, as we are in the glossary already of the OSB, and if you ain't been getting that drop, go back to it. Remember the Essenes. The Essenes. This is a different, this is not quite that word. This is the Esyan. This is a newborn spirit. When a mortal dies and the spirit departs into heaven, it is called an Esyan, an infant spirit. The name Esyan, it retains as long as it is helpless, perhaps a year or 5 years or hundreds of years. See the word purgatory. So we got to dig on that. That's taking us somewhere else. But let's get into this Abraham. Let's stay with it. And this Bra and this Brahman. Bra. Now this says wisdom, knowledge. Bra was the founder of Brahmanism, contemporaneous with Abram or Abraham. So here is a completely separate source confirming the same wave of this Abraham Brahmin contemporary situation. So let's dig. Now in this case, we're talking about under false god Enochisia. I'm sorry, I forget your name, brother, but my brother brought out that you know, they started worshiping Enoch as an angel in the sense of the Metatron situation. You know what I'm saying? The word Brahma became synonymous with warrior. Brahma. All right. So contemporaries, meaning live at the same time as Abraham or Abram. Brahman. Abraham. Are they the same person? Is Brahman a hijack? Is Abraham a hijack? What's going on, right? So, right now, I would tend to say that, we need to surf the wave. I definitely don't believe that Abraham's a hijack at this point at all. But I believe that this Brahmin or this situation, that there's more to it. We know that it's definitely representative of a hijack as it symbolizes Christ. It's been used synonymously in all these things, right? When you go into the definition of Christian or Christians, a brotherhood of warriors, they were named Christians in derision and mockery by the Hebrews. One who rushes into a multitude of rioters or savages, they say, and with a sword enforces peace. So they came here as Christians to your world, rushing into who they called a multitude of savages. And with the sword they enforced peace. And with the sword today they enforce peace. Because they're invading you. And that is a true Christian. A people whose faith is in arms, and standing armies. Weapons and standing armies. The following words are synonymous with Christian. Brahma, Buddha, Christ, Baal, Ashereth, Dagon, Vishnu. Isn't Vishnu with the brother kick, with Lex kick? And Vishnu the father of Brahma? Ashdod, knowledge, wisdom are also synonymous with Christian. So, let's keep surfing. Krishna, light, Lord of light. Oh, Po, Kung Fu Panda Po, Tien, Wa, Manito, and in fact a score of others. So this brotherhood of warriors, these Christians, this Brahma, wisdom, knowledge, synonymous with Christian. Founder of Brahmanism, contemporaries with Abraham or Abram. So if it's not the same person and they were there at the same time, what's the correlation and what is this author talking about in the way? And just on a last note, remember Algonquin. The United States of North American Indians before the destruction by the Christian that ran up and called you savages. You were the United States of North American Indians before there was a United States of America. United States of North American Indians before their destruction by the Christians. Can you dig on that? Oh, I'm looking in the wrong place. I'm looking for the Abraham drop. And I forgot that you have to go by a different name. And that name is Hiawatha. We're going to dig on that, man. We will be getting into Hiawatha. Because they're calling him in this dictionary in the OSB a North American Indian. So we just read about the United States and North American Indians, Algonquin. So he was an Algonquin, a North American Indian, a kind of Abraham. So here they are, revealing a baby in the bathwater named Hiawatha. They're acknowledging that this person is native, indigenous to America, and is a kind of Abraham with whom he was contemporaries living at the same time. So whoa. So Hiawatha is a kind of Abraham. So who was Abraham? He had many seeds. His seed was blessed, right? So this seed of Hiawatha is blessed from indigenously here who lived at the same time as Abraham. Contemporaries with Abraham contemporaries with Brahma, who was contemporaries with Abraham. All right, we're surfing the wave. We're only surfing the wave. So this Brahma Hebrew origin connection, likewise the Brahmins have also been a community of priests since the beginnings of their history. Abraham himself was the son of a chief priest, Terah. The Hindus called their priest Rabbi. The high priests of the Enochic Essene are called Rabbi Kohan. See also the sections of Rabbi developing and establishing effective leadership. All right, you got Jubilees 12:3. And his father said to him, I know that, my son, but what shall I do to the people who have made me a priest, minister before them? Okay, so I guess they're referring to Abraham being considered a priest. Priest, king, priest. Let's keep going. The culture of Brahm, Hinduism, was said to be carried to the Middle and Near East by several different Indian groups. About 1900 BC. Don't worry about the timelines now. After a severe rainfall, an earthquake tore North India apart, ever changing the courses of the Indus and Sarasvati rivers. The classical geographer Strabo tells us just how nearly complete the abandonment of northwestern India was. Aristobulus says that when he was sent upon a certain mission in India, he saw a country of more than 1,000 cities, together with villages that had been deserted because the Indus had abandoned its proper bed. The drying up of the Saravati around 1900 BCE led to a major relocation of the population centered around and in the Sindhu and Sarasvati Valley. So we have this flood story in India now, causing a migration westward from India. It is soon after this time that the Indic element begins to appear all over West Asia, Egypt, and eventually even Greece. Till this day, there are artifacts, writings, statues, temples, and pyramids showing the ancient India dynasties, looking exactly like the pharaohs of Egypt. So we know there's so much Hindu correlation with this Egyptian dynastic correlation, with this Atlantic hijack correlation, with this celestial fallen angels, lower heaven correlation with those that want to play underneath the firmament. They want to play with us underneath the barrier that Thoth has to run in circles from the hounds of the barrier that run in angles. They move in angles. They try to run away from them in circles that have no angles. Circular patterns in which angles are hard to detect. Till this day, there are artifacts, writings, statues, temples, and pyramids showing the ancient India dynasties looking exactly like the pharaohs of Egypt, except they lasted long before the pre-Egyptian dynasties existed. They built the Egyptian dynasties and civilization, not the other way around. Okay, let's keep going. An Indian historian, Cuzco, Perushathama, Khan, believes that Abraham was driven out of India. All right, so we have an Indian historian that believes that Abraham was driven out of India. Is he biased? Is he trying to hijack Abraham? Or was Abraham from India? contemporary with Brahma? Here's a theory. Let's just go crazy for a second. Could they have hijacked Abraham, right? Right? The same Bra. Alright. B-R-A-H, Bra or Brahma. Contemporary with Abraham or Abram. Synonymous with Christ or Brotherhood of Warriors. Christ, Buddha, Brahma. So, crazy theory. Since we're surfing the wave, let's go. Could the Abraham that they gave us be Brahma? And the Abraham that they're hiding be the other contemporary of Abraham that lived at the same time, but he is Iwata or Hiawatha, a North American Indian. A kind of Abraham. A kind of Abraham? Abrahamish? He's a North American Indian. So if they can't say it's Abraham, then they're going to give up all the game. So is his name really Abraham or is it Hiawatha? And is Hiawatha really the father of many nations or seeds? Especially the seed, the energy, a North American Indian, a kind of Abraham with whom he is contemporaries. Notice they didn't relate him to Brahma. They could have. They could have related him to Brahma. But instead they related Brahma. They related Brahma to Abraham or Bra. I'm just throwing it out there. Let's throw it out there. Let's go. Prester John, Raja here, Raja. So we're talking about some India's type of feel. And they're saying he's a Chola. The Pandian. Alright, we'll get into the Pandis and the Cholas. We'll try to do it this time. If not, we'll do it in part 11. Can you believe it? Can you believe how long we've been searching for Prester John? The dedication to find Prester John? Have we learned anything? Have we got any jewels in our quest for Prester John? So this Indian historian believes that this Abraham was driven out of India. He states that the Aryans, unable to defeat the Azoras, the mercantile caste that once ruled in the Indus Valley or Hirapods. So there's another baby. So these Azoras were fighting the Aryans. So the Aryans were the hijack, and they were hijacking the Azoras, which they're calling the mercantile caste that was once ruled. So these people were low on the caste system, and they once ruled in the Indus Valley. So they were once rulers, but now they were at the bottom of the caste system. Spent so many years fighting covertly against the Azoras, such as the destroying their huge system of irrigation lakes, causing destructive flooding, that Abraham and his kindred just gave up and marched to West Africa. Oh, Asia. So I see those S's and I think F's. Africa. All right. So this flood is happening based on this hijack, these Aryans hijacking the Azoras, causing destroying lakes. So these people are destroying nature. Does that sound familiar? Causing flooding. Does that sound familiar? Are these the same Aryans today? Well, let's get into it. Therefore, besides being driven out of northern India by floods, the Euro-Arian, here we go, you know who we're talking about now. So Aryan is something different than a Euro-Arian, right? Or Indo-Aryan. Also forced Indian merchants, artisans, and educated classes to flee West Asia. Those who remained behind were driven into South India and placed into a caste system on the bottom part of the caste. So the Indian merchants, or the Azoras, these Euro-Aryans forced these Indian merchants. I wonder who they could be, Negro. Artisans and educated classes to flee to West Asia. So now you have the actual Indians forced out of India by the Euro-Arian, and even before that by the Aryan, but they were completely forced out by the Euro-Arian into West Asia. Those who remained behind were driven into South India and placed into a caste system on the bottom of the caste. So again, with that brother Lex Will kicked that video with the looking for the Indians, and they end up being copper color folk on the bottom. Here we go. Very similar to the Euro caste system. Look who they related to, just in case you think I'm fucking with you. Very similar to the Euro caste system. Upper class, middle class, and lower class in America, with African Americans on the bottom. Meditate on that. Turn my heart music up a little bit. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Aren't we seeing some things? Aren't we learning about Prester John, Emperor of the Three Indias? So it's very similar. These Azoras are being forced out. These Indian merchants are being forced out by Euro-Aryans and Aryans into West Asia, put on the bottom of the caste. Very similar to how the Euro caste, upper, middle, lower, is doing right here with you, Negro. You're at the bottom. Now, Hebrew and Kashmiri Kabbalistic terminology. So we're going to, compare this with the so-called Indian terminology of Hebrew. And, you can look at this. You can pull this doc up. You can see how, similar certain parts of the philology are. See how they say, Yah, the material universe, body bag. I love getting babies out the bathwater. The material universe. Not the creator, but the universe. See, this is cosmology. This is celestial talk. And when they gave you Yah, everything's always backwards, man. H-A-Y. And when the brother, again, that's what I always tell you, man. I love all our family, man. That's just giving a little bit of a shit. Everybody can't be, everything that everybody wants you to be this and they want you to be that. I ain't gonna get into it, man. I ain't gonna lose my mind again, people. I'm with you, man. We surfing the wave. I'm sorry for the little classroom break. But you know how we rock. Yeah. Online etymology dictionary. Yah. Oh, Yah, Yah this and Yah this. And you look at the etymology of Yah from 1812. Exclamation of defiance or dismissal. The brother Lex showed you that. Exclamation of defiance. When you say Yah, you are exclaiming defiance or dismissal of law. Dismissal of the Creator. Jah, a form of Hebrew Yah, short for Yahweh, Jehovah. See Yahweh. 1869. Hypothetical reconstruction of this tetragrammaton based on the assumption of tetragrammaton imperfection of Hebrew word Hawa. Earlier form of Heya. Was in the sense of the one who is the existing. Heya. Haya. Hawa. Haya. Heya. Hawa. Get it? Earlier form. You see how they took the earlier form of Heya. Why not just leave it Heya? Hawa. Heya. Haya. Why not leave that frequency alone? Why did they take your ancient love song and give you defiance and dismissal? Because they want you to dismiss with your frequency of Yah, order. I'm about to lose my mind. So even here, Yah, the material universe. Same as in Judaism. What do they do in Judaism? They hijack you into the material universe, into the celestial, into their powers. Their Saturn, their Jupiter. All right, let's keep going. Creation to the void. All right. Okay. Now check this out. The exodus of refugees out of ancient India did not occur all at once, but over a period of 1 or more thousand years. Indeed, they are mentioned as Cuzites, Hittites, Syrians, Assyrians, Hurrians, Arameans, Hyksos, Matanians, Amalekites, Ethiopians, Abyssinians, Phoenicians, Chaldeans, and many others. So that, according to these scholars here, is in reference to the exodus of refugees out of ancient India. Shall I remind you that in this particular glossary, that, this is just stuff for you to research. I don't know. I don't have a definitive on any of this stuff. As we research, you'll be a fool to come to any conclusions other than knowing that your creator of your trees exists and that your sacred trees did not create themselves, nor did the hijacks create your sacred trees. Your sacred trees were cut down by hijacks. So why would the sacred trees be cut down by hijacks if they were created by hijacks? So who created your sacred trees? When you look up Pan, the submerged continent west of America, also called Mu, we'll get into some Mu drop, original name of the earth. Pan, original name of the earth, from as I see what I see, and only what I see is. Wow. I see what I see, and only what I see is. Original name of the earth. The name of the continent. The name of a continent in the Pacific Ocean submerged, what they're calling 24,000 years ago. So we're getting to this book of Af and his path. But remember when you looked up Shem, and it says one of the ancient names of India? Why? Oh, why is Shem one of the ancient names of India? And these Abyssinians, these Ethiopians, as part of this exodus out of ancient India, this flood. So it happened over a period of 1 or more thousand years, this exodus out of India occurred, they're saying. Interesting. But we have wrongly taught to regard them as ethnicities indigenous to Western Asia, i.e. the Middle East, Mesopotamia. Indeed, there were those who came from the continent of Africa and elsewhere who dwelled in these regions. So it's saying, indeed, let me back up, but we have wrongly taught to regard them as ethnicities indigenous to Western Asia. So they wrongly taught that all these Kassites, Hittites, all these Ethiopian, Abyssinians, all these Hyksos and Chaldeans, Phoenicians were all indigenous to Western Asia. That was wrongly taught. Or Middle East. Middle East, when you think of all this stuff, you think Middle East. And they said that was wrongly taught. And they said, indeed, there were those who came from the continent of Africa and elsewhere who dwelled in these regions, but eventually assimilated into the settling and dominant Eastern cultures and empires. Let's keep going. The greater Indus region was home to the largest of the 4 ancient urban civilizations, of Egypt, Mesopotamia, South Asia, and China. It was not discovered until the 1920s. Most of its ruins, even its major cities, remained to be excavated. So this greater Indus was not discovered until the 1920s. Do you understand when I say they're just now discovering all of this stuff? And they just now discovered you. A couple hundred years is all it was. What's a few hundred years to thousands? They just conquered you, Negro. They just invaded you, Negro. And they want you to assimilate into a system that's brand new to you, Negro. They only discovered greater Indus region in the 1920s. Most of its ruins, even its major cities, remain to be excavated, just like the Grand Canyon. I'm going to skip down a little bit. Actually, this is kind of cool. Dravidians argue that it was they who influenced the Ethiopians. So these Dravidians influenced the Abyssinians. Ethiopia or Abyssinia was colonized by the Hindus. Sir William Jones says Ethiopia and Hindustan were possessed or colonized by the same extraordinary race. Dravidians claim that scriptures show that Indian tribes migrated to all other nations of the world. Dravidians point to historical phases or phrases like Krunvanto Viswam Aryan, let us make all people civilized. India traded with Egypt, and so could have easily traded with adjacent regions. The cow and the bull are sacred animals in this part of Africa. The cow and the bull. In this part of Africa, there are the cities Arana in Tunisia, Aryan in Chad, Arawa in Uganda, and Erat in Ethiopia or Abyssinia. So Hebrewism and Shaivite Hinduism share the terms in reference to the eternal creator. So here's their terms. And y'all can all look all this up. Now you see how they go to the Yah again, defiance. Alright, so don't let them hijack you with this Hebrewism and Yah, defiance, Siva, Shiva, Siva. So they're calling this Shiva their eternal creator, and they're calling this Yah eternal creator, and they're both the same thing. They're both the same entity. All of it is vibration and it's hijacked. It's not the eternal creator. They're hijacking this as Judaism and hijacking this, as what they're calling Shaivism, but this is all their angel shit and their angel hijack, and all that is broken down in the RSB. How they're coming in and planning and plotting, saying that they were the Lord of Lords and Creator of Creators, and they kept doing this. And this is why their judgment is at hand. Now, the Aryan definition and deception. Although today in the world of info we have come to associate the term Aryan with the Euro-Gentile race. Uh-oh. You didn't see that shit coming. So although today in the world of info we have come to associate the term Aryan with Euro-Gentile race, especially of India, it must be understood that this was not an original term applied to the white race. As a standard above, I do use the term Aryan to refer to those who are not of the dark-skinned people of India that originated from European nations who usurped the title for themselves. So they usurped the title for themselves after they invaded and dominated the Indian Empire, for the sake of identifying the people of today without confusion. That was 2 sentences. But let me read that last one again. As I stated above, I do use the term Aryan to refer to those who are not of the dark-skinned people of India that originated from the European nations. I do use the term Aryan. You have to get this in your mind. When you hear Aryan, what do you think? Do you think of the Euro-Gentile race? Well, today in the world of info, we have come to associate the term Aryan with the Euro-Gentile race, or white race. But is the white race the original Aryan, especially of India? It must be understood that this was not original term applied to the white race. I do use the term Aryan to refer to those who are not of the dark-skinned people of India that originated from the European nations who usurped the title. So these European nations usurped the title for themselves after they invaded and dominated the Indian Empire for the sake of identifying the people of today without confusion. Aryan is a Sanskrit term that in no way refers to the European race. It was used by the dark-skinned indigenous populations thousands of years before the advent of the Euro-Gentile and their racial superior caste system myth. Meditate on that. It was used by the dark-skinned indigenous populations thousands of years before the advent of the Euro-Gentile. So the Aryan, that hijacked the Azuras, was a dark-skinned race of indigenous populations. So this term was used by this dark-skinned race. So let's keep going. Aryan is an English term or English language word derived from Sanskrit Iranian. So the Euro-Arian is not the Aryan. So who's the Aryan? Clearly they were a dark-skinned indigenous population. Now, did this dark-skinned indigenous population rock with the Creator, rock with you? Who's the Azuras? He states that the Aryans, unable to defeat the Azoras, who were the mercantile caste that once ruled in the Indus Valley, spent so many years fighting covertly against the Azoras, such as destroying their huge system of irrigation lakes, causing destructive flooding. So these dark-skinned Aryans going to war against the Azoras. All right, let's keep going. So they usurped this title, these Europeans. So this Aryan is Sanskrit for Iranian, Arya. The extended form Aryana, Arya. It was originally used as a self-ethnic designation of the indigenous black Indo-Iranians. Let's keep going. Originally used as the self-ethnic designation of the indigenous black Indo-Aryans? What does it mean? Let's go. Wakey, wakey, y'all. Don't let the harp music get you too relaxed now. I'll turn it off if I see y'all sleeping. I'll turn that shit off. Rock with me. The term literally means noble and spiritual. The Sanskrit lexicon, Armakosha, defines Arya as Mahakula Kulinara, being of a noble family. So the Sanskrit lexicon defines Arya, which is an Iranian term for the indigenous black Indo-Aryans, as being of a noble family. Sabya, having gentle or refined behavior and demeanor. Sajana, being well-born and respectable. And Sarava, being virtuous, honorable, or righteous. Righteous, pious. Righteous, pious. Righteous, pious. Prester John, emperors of the three Indias. Raja had Raja Chola II. Honorable or righteous in Hinduism, the religiously initiated Brahmin, Kshatriya, and Vaishyas were Arya, a title of honor and respect given to certain people for noble behavior. Now look, this word is still used by Hindus, Buddhists, Jains, and Zoroastrians to mean noble and spiritual or spiritual. Here comes this Zoroaster again. You're going to see this Zoroaster popping up all over the documents. What is it connected to? You know it's connected to how they did this Christ situation, this Zoroaster, and this Buddha, and this. You see how they try to hijack us with Yah, so we know that they're giving us babies here. They're still hijacking us. So we're carefully swimming in this. To mean noble or spiritual, which is what connected the people to their spiritual and cultural roots. Now compare this definition with the definition of the Enochic Hebrew above and see if you get the connection between the two. They are one and the same. One and the same. Just as the Europeans have always done, they invaded a people's civilization and conquered it, mostly through the spreading of disease and filth. Ain't that the motherfucking truth? Didn't we get diseased on? Didn't we get filthed on? Didn't we get plagued on? Didn't we get eaten on? Just as the Europeans have always done. They invaded people's civilizations and conquer it. They've always done this. They'll never stop. and then steal the legacy and history of the people for themselves, except when they feel the legacy is not going to place them above and beyond the world, or they fail to conquer the people, i.e. Islamic, Ethiopia, Zulu, just as they took the African princess. Europa, if you didn't know, was an African princess. Europe is named after an African princess. So you see, those lands are very, very indigenous, very noble. All of this Asia and West Asia and this so-called Europe and this hijack and this illusion is nothing but flooded with royalty, indigenous royalty. They took the princess Europa, her name, and applied it to their whole race. We're going to name a whole race after an African princess. That's why some don't like to be called European, if you notice. And then they took Abraham's son's name and said their own originated the name Africa. And so they took Abraham's son's name and said their own originated the name Africa. So is this scholar saying that Abraham's son's name was Africa? Okay. I'm just surfing the web. And took the Hebrew ethnic culture, and applied it to themselves as Jews, And the Europeans, aside from taking the African princess Europa's name and Abraham's son's name and originated the name Africa, they originated Africa, and then took Hebrew ethnic culture and then applied it to themselves as Jews. Furthermore, there's more? What more could you do? They took much of the northern Native American culture and now say they are descended from them. Hijacks. Aren't we seeing all these hijacks? When you look up Cherokees and Choctaws, don't you also find white Cherokees and white Choctaws? Well, they took much of the northern Native American culture and now say that they are descended from them and only recognize the white tribes as federal protected natives. So they took the ethnic designation of the black Aryans of India. Whoa. Is this scholar calling us here black Aryans? What does he mean by that? Does he mean being of a noble family? Didn't they say when they found the indigenous people here that they had a gentle and refined behavior and demeanor? Wasn't that in Columbus's and Cortez's writings? How easy it was to get whatever they wanted from them because they gave them everything. They were just so giving. Being well-born, and weren't they written about being so respectable, so virtuous and honorable and righteous? Oh, sure, you had the whole savage story, but when you get into the docs, this is what you're really getting. We're just surfing the wave. And only recognized the white tribes as federal protected natives. So they took the ethnic designation of the black Aryans of India and applied it to themselves in a racially superior way. They're Aryans in a racially superior way. So they hijacked the term Aryans of India, the black Aryans of India, of nobility, and apply it to themselves in a superior way. Nothing new for the track record of the Caucasian race, whatever that means. So don't be deceived in any way about the ignorant Aryan nation skinheads, Nazis of Hitler's regime, or the European invaders of India. all in their own ignorance just want to be great, like the dark-skinned people of India who lived what they said they were through works, not skin color or empty words. In this sense, the modern Aryan wannabes are true failures at being Aryan. Furthermore, in light of this, the dark-skinned Hebrew, themselves descendants of India, Prester John, as I have presented, would have been designated as Aryan when they did the will of who they're calling Yahweh or Heya, particularly the Enochic Hebrews. So they're saying the dark-skinned Hebrews, the Enochic Hebrews, particularly this particular author is saying that they are descendants of Aryan, that they are dark-skinned, and they would have been designated Aryan, of nobility, born, well born. And they show his dark skin, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, I don't know how they doing this and this, but, I'm surfing this wave. So they say, Black Israelite of India, Cochin. Black Israelite of India. All right. Is he a convert? Is he an Israelite? We don't know, but we see what they're getting at. All right, man. Now we get into some good stuff. I want to get, because we got a little time. I don't want to get what I need. Let's just get ahead a little bit. There we go. All right, so chapter 10, how Abram fought with the Assyrians and overcame them and saved the Sodomite prisoners and took from the Assyrians the prey they had gotten. So we're going to start on some of this, and I want to get to a couple more documents, man, because, I always think I got more time than I do. I always got to give myself more documents than I can handle, but somehow it always makes sense. I love to Drop Nation, man. The team of researchers. Everybody out there waking up. Everyone out there waking up, man, searching for the drop. You are Drop Nation. Everyone desiring, man, order. You are Drop Nation. What you see and manifest in front of you is Drop Nation. What is drop? It is just water. And we are all water. And we are all Drop Nation. When Abram heard of their calamity, he was at once afraid for Lot, his kinsman, and pitied the Sodomites, his friends and neighbors, and thinking it was proper to afford them assistance, he did not delay it, but marched hastily, and the fifth night fell upon the Assyrians near Dan, for that is the name of the other spring of Jordan. And before they could arm themselves, he slew some, as they were in their beds, before they could suspect any harm, and others, who were not yet gone to sleep, but were so drunk they could not fight, ran away. Abram pursued after them, till on the second day he drove them in a body unto Hobah, a place belonging to Damascus, and thereby demonstrated that victory does not depend on multitude and the number of hands, but the alacrity and courage of soldiers overcome the most numerous bodies of men, while he got the victory over so great an army with no more than 318 of his servants and 3 of his friends, and all of those that fled returned home ingloriously. So Abraham, when he had saved the captive Sodomites, who had been taken by the Assyrians, and Lot also, his kinsman, returned home in peace. Now the king of Sodom met him at a certain place, when they called the King's Dale, which they called the King's Dale, where Melchizedek, king of the city of Salem, king of Salam, king of peace, Prince of Peace, King of Peace, received him. Now, pay attention. That night signifies the righteous king, and such he was without dispute, insomuch that on this account he was made the priest of God. However, they afterward called Salam Jerusalem. Now, this Melchizedek supplied Abram's army in an hospitable manner and gave them provisions in abundance. And as they were fasting, he began to praise him and to bless God for subduing his enemies under him. And when Abraham gave him the 10th part of his prey, he accepted of the gift. But the king of Sodom desired Abraham to take the prey, but entreated that he might have those men restored to him whom Abraham had saved from the Assyrians, because they belonged to him. But Abraham would not do so, nor would make any other advantage of that prey than what his servants had eaten. But instead he still insisted that he should afford a part of his friends that had assisted him in the battle. The first of them were called Eshcol, and then Ener, and then Mamre. Notice that during this time, Josephus says, the Assyrians ruled all of Asia. Okay, a vice versa from Asia ruling the Middle East during this time. As there was always a power struggle and regime change in the area, remember they are all related. But of the 4 king coalitions of the Assyrian Empire, who are mentioned as laying waste Syria and conquering the area and later are being conquered by Abraham, one is king of Sumeria, Amraphel, and the other is the king of India, Persia. This part is missing, so they skipped a page on us. All right. But so one is the king of Persia, one is the king of Samaria. They are both conquered by Abraham. All right, so I skipped a page, but I'm gonna get it right here. Akkad, after the punitive expedition in which Ebla was subjugated, but after Sargon died, 2310 BC, they say, Abram turned the tables on Akkad and reduced the cities to vassalage in turn. It was not until 2250 that Sargon's grandson Narum Sin of Akkad was able to throw off the yoke of Ebla by conquering the city and putting it to the torch. It may be pure coincidence that this powerful king of Ebla, King Abram, should have the same name as Eber, from whom the Hebrews traced their descent. Coincidentally, Arab historians have traditionally dated Abraham to 2300. Akkad had an expedition in which Ebla was subjected, so we got to research this Ebla. And after Sargon died, in this date, 2310 BC, who they're calling Abram, turned the tables on Akkad and reduced the cities. All right. So later, they overthrew the yoke of Ebla. Now this Ebla is King Abram. And we got to look up and research this King Abram, who they're connecting now to Abraham. However, I believe that it can be seen clearly as being the Ebla version of Abram. Remember, Abram eventually had a name change to Abraham, i.e. Abram, Abramu. However, I leave the student of this research. To make the final conclusion. The student of this research, they leave to make the final conclusion of this Abram and Abraham connection. And I look at this Abramu, and I'm here at Mu, and I remember the submerged island of Mu, and also called Pan, and the original name of Earth of being Pan, right? We look at Shem, one of the ancient names of India, sea submerged Pan. We look at Pan, original name of the earth. Okay. The name of the continent in the Pacific Ocean, that's the west. West of us, west of America. And then right quick, I just want to turn our attention to this great document, man. Love to Drive Nation, man. Everybody sending me these wonderful links, man. I'm just digging on it, man. It's a beautiful thing. This particular joint has to do with the esoteric lost continent Mu. And I'll leave the link. And it has lots of dropping on Mu. Now, this drop's crazy because, we got to dodge the hijack. This one, one is, some Hindu hijack. Another one, they're trying to tell you that white people are just everywhere. The Maya are white. And, you heard this shit before. All this shit, they want it all. But all I want to do is get some babies out. And let's see what we can get. So we have Seb, the Egyptian bird. This is the Mexican bird tablets. Seb, the Egyptian bird among the Egyptian pantheon. So we know about this Hindu, Indian, Egyptian connection. Now we're looking at this, Ame'rican, native or indigenous connection here. What's going on? We know that there's, the hijack is here. We know that Egypt is here. So we're not surprised to see Egypt here, of course, right? We know the Grand Canyon is coming out with hundreds of mummified bodies and artifacts, and pharaohs, all kinds of shit in the Grand Canyon. Among the Egyptian pantheon, we find one of the gods named after a bird, a goose. The goose is a sacred bird mentioned in Oriental legends. Upper Egypt was colonized from India. Whoa. Can't make this shit up. I haven't even read this, and India pops up immediately when I just jumped to page 35. India came that quick. And we're going to get into this Hindu India too, man. We're going to get into this Hindu America. Who discovered America, all right? I'm not going to enlarge it because I'll be tempted to read it. But let's go. Seb was called the father of the gods, the bearer of the gods. Seb is the Egyptian name for a certain species of goose which was worn as a symbol of his head dress. Seb was also called the great cackler, which produced a mundane egg out of which the earth was produced. Therefore, the human body also. So you hear this hijack there, man. This Atlantean hijack. It is written, I protect the egg of the great cackler. If I thrive, it thrives. If I live, it lives. If I breathe the breath of air, it breathes. And that's in the Egyptian Book of the Dead. Says it all, right? Book of the Dead. They are just concerned about the celestial afterlife and the promises made by these entities to travel the celestial space-time interval. Time's up. Here also clearly shows that the bird Seb was a symbol of the creative forces, the great primary four. So yeah, they have him as a white man. Alright, so just dodge the hijack, man. We're going to keep going. Now listen, the North American Indian tableau depicting the destruction of Mu. This tableau comes from the Nootka Indians. So look up the Nootka Indians who live on the west coast of Vancouver Island, British Columbia. Interesting. If you ain't been to Vancouver, British Columbia, there's a lot of indigenous drop there. I had a great pleasure of, I had a work permit up there for a year, you know what I mean? So I lived in Canada for a year. And I just remember seeing all kinds of artwork and stuff. And, you know what I mean? So it's all over the place, but it's all in front of us. It's all beneath our feet. All right, so, I'm just going to scroll down some of these pictures and see if we see anything interesting. So this is the North American Indian tableau depicting the destruction of Mu. All right, basically it looks like this fish, whatever this is, some type of bird hijacking something. I mean, this stuff is deep. Most prominent change from the general writings of Mu is in the symbol used by the Indians for the symbolizing the waters in the Naga, Negas, Naga, Euro-Arian, American, Maya. An unadorned serpent was used called Kanab. Some of y'all get this shit already. Kanab. So we're researching the serpent, and we understand that we don't, you know what I'm saying, we're searching for the indigenous truth of this serpent. You know, we can't just see the serpent the same way the invader sees the serpent, right? That wouldn't make sense, to learn the serpent understanding from your invader that's giving you their serpent understanding. Overstanding. We must gain that overstanding. So this unadorned serpent was called Kanab. Alright, so however it's being presented in this scenario, I see Khan, I see Khan like Canaan, Canaan. I see Khan like Khan. I mean, you know, let's keep going. Its body generally shown in wavy lines like the rolls of the ocean swell. These old Indians, however, have gone their southern neighbors one better. They have divided the waters using the biggest of fishes to symbolize oceans and the wavy serpent line to symbolize lesser waters. They call their symbol for the oceans the killer whale. This symbol is found among many of the Northwest Indian tribes, if not all. So this symbol is pretty much found with all these Northwest Indian tribes of this killer whale. It has a common origin among them. It was probably designated the killer on account of it having swept over and drowned so many millions of the people of Mu. Submerged. So we're going to get into how these people of Mu, just like Atlantis in a sense, you know, something happened and they were out of order. Something was submerged. And some people, a remnant, claim to, you know, have come from the west, not the east, but the west. And if they're coming from the west, then they're coming from the submerged lands of Mu or Pan. Mu or Pan. I don't know if I still have this so accessible. Let's see. Bang. Dig on it. So we got Mu, we got Atlantis, so, you know, so you see America here, you see America here. Cuzco, upper and lower, right? America, America. So, you know, this is just a projection. So you see America here, American here. They want to show you what's to the west of America. Lemuria, Mu. Some also call this Pan. But then they have a Mu here. Right, so if you go east, you have Atlantis. When you zoom in on this, you see all the little seabeds and all the situations. So I asked you a long time ago when I showed you this, I said, is this play? Now you have Atlantis here, right? To the right of America. And to the left of America, you have Lemuria, Mu, or Pan. To the right, they give you this Africa, this Europa, this Asia, and they have Mu over here, MU. Now you see how this MU is connected to this MU, so when you have these Australians, so when this went down, it's almost like there are people that migrated here, there's people that migrated here. They say they came from the west. All order wasn't destroyed. The Most High guided some of his people out and started populating these areas from these sunken lands and from these sunken lands. All right. Oh, it gets better. So we got this serpent. The serpent has a plume of feathers on its head. It is therefore an adorned serpent. It is a conventional drawing of Quetzalcoatl, the feathered serpent of the northern people of the motherland. An adorned serpent has always been the symbol among all ancient peoples for the deity as the creator and his creations. The 7 commandments, they're saying, as given in the book of the golden age, books of the golden age, as given in books of the golden age. So, all right. So, was this serpent a symbol for the creator of all ancient peoples? Or is it a hijack here? Are the serpent mounds and these things like that got to do with the framer and the shaper? The balance? Or is it a, fallen angel hijack? All right. So we'll get more into this, but, you can see this shows magnetic forces falling from the wind. So here's the key to this particular joint, the eye of the whale. I mean, man, I ain't got that much time, but I'm just going to go quick so we can, get some more drop, man. So we got records of the lost continent. The records referring to the land of Mu are many and various. Among written records are some that tell us man made his advent on earth in the land of Mu, the Nakal tablets, for instance. So they're saying that the advent, that man started on Mu. Other records give us the geographical position of the lost continent. The American written records, which are many, tell us the land of Mu lay to the west of America. To the west of America. To the west of America. The American written records, which are many, tell us the land of Mu lay to the west of America. The Asiatic records all say Mu, the motherland, lay to the east of Asia towards the rising sun. Therefore, the motherland of man, being between America and Asia, lay in the Pacific Ocean. On the islands, we find stone remnants or remains of her great cities and temples. And then they want to throw in, and also a white race. A white race. So, dodge the hijack, man. I mean, everywhere you go, people trying to write their way into history. We just talked about the dark-skinned Aryans, and then we want to talk about the white race. Forget all the copper color and dark and melanin, white race. Anyway, I shall first take the American written records commencing the Trional manuscript, an ancient Maya book written in the Yucatan. It has been estimated to be 1,500 to 5,000 years old. It is, I think, between 1,500 and 3,000 years old. I base this on the form of writings. Then they go into it, man. This, several abstracts from the Trional manuscript that I have present will conclusively prove the correctness of my contention regarding Mu. Here's one abstract from this manuscript. In the year 6 Khan of the 11 Muluk, in the month of Zak, there occurred terrific earthquakes which continued into the 13 Goan without interruption. The country of the hills of earth, the land of Mu, was sacrificed. Twice upheaved, it disappeared during the night, having been constantly shaken by the fires of the underneath. Being confined, these caused the land to rise and to sink several times in various places. At last the surface gave way, and the 10 countries or tribes, were torn asunder and scattered. The tribes were scattered. They sank with their 64 million inhabitants, 8,060 years before the writing of this book. And we're going to dig some more on this. This is a depiction. Of course, it's not in color because they want you to think that these are all white people, right? But this is a trial manuscript recounting the destruction of Mu. So we're going to get more into this because it gets extremely, extremely amazing. We're going to get into the philology and these languages. And remember, this is Prester John, and you think we're crazy. We said scattered, and it says scattered. This is from the ciphers of the monks, a forgotten number notation of the Middle Ages by David A. King. All right. On page 190, chapter 6, the ciphers as presented by Agrippa of Netishim. Vor. Whatever this is, hot in gang. I don't know this language, but let's see what it says here. Scattered at intervals throughout the text of Mandeville's travels are the number of enigmatic alphabets, one of which of the more important countries he describes. They consist normally of the forms of the letters, their names, and key letters showing to which letter of the modern European alphabet each form corresponds. They range from genuine Greek through unrecognizably corrupt Egyptian, Hebrew, Saracen, Persian, Chaldean, Tartar-Rus, Russia, Rus, Clan Ross, Andros, Rus, Pictland, you get it? Tartaria, Prester John, let's go. Cathayan, to an incredible production called Pentextual. An incredible production. So after all these, there's an incredible production called Pentextual, which this author, David A. King, is calling the language of Prester John's empire. And I tried to look a little into this. There's some dead ends when you look at this language, man. So, I'll try to see if you can find this incredible production called Pentextual, the language of Prester John's empire. Okay. All right, we got about 20 minutes, man. So let's make a wonderful dismount. Remember the Voynich manuscript. This is, according to this document here, the so-called Voynich manuscript is a 15th century copy of the original, which was written by him. Who? Raja Chola II, the first Prester John, written by him in the 12th century. So this manuscript was written, according to this, by Raja Chola I or II, which is the first of the Prester Johns, or King David's, or Solomon's, according to these timelines, according to the letter. According to the letter of King David. So, remember this manuscript. Apparently people have gone crazy trying to decipher this thing. It says the language is a Hebreo-Georgian Indian language. Now remember, it talked about Prester John's people. It says the 3 Indias, and from 1350 to 1530, her descendants who Prester John's, I think one of the royal women related to Prester John, what is her name? Sundaras. daughter married Australian Javanese king. So, alright, who followed an Indianized Jewish Christian faith. What is that? Indianized. Jewish Christian faith. Are we going back into the India, into the Abraham? Indianized Jewish Christian faith. I always want to put this Christian hijack in. This Christian hijack. They can't leave it alone. These Christians. All you see is surrounded is hijacks. How do we get to the bottom of this language? This Pixio. Remember we just got that? They range from all these languages to an incredible production called Pentecostal, the language of Prester John's empire. Now, people, we're surfing the wave. These are different books. How many books in this 10-part series have we gone through looking for Prester John? Now we find a language called Pentecostal, the language of Prester John's empire. And this document here is telling us that the language is a Hebreo-Georgian. Now, we looked up David Slosslin and all these Georgian, you know what I'm saying, Brutani, you know what I'm saying, kings and all this stuff, these kings of Georgia, all this stuff like that. All this Russia stuff, this Russia, Rus. Tartarus, Rus, Russia, Georgia, Russia. Connected, man, connected, let's go. We're going to get into this Pandy, the language of the Hebrew, Georgian, Indian language of the royal house. So could this document that no one can figure out, no one can decipher it, all right, his son by his black Pandian wife was Vakarama Pandian. So let's get into it. So apparently this thing has been undecipherable. No one can get to the bottom of it. No one, people they say have gone insane trying to decipher this document. Written in Hebreo, Georgian, Indian language, or you can also call it Pentecostal, the language of Prester John's empire. And of course, we don't know what it says, but we're just going to scroll. And I'm just going to scroll as you listen to harp music. And we're going to look at this Voynich manuscript. And I'm going to scroll in on this writing so you can see. They call us the Hebreo, Indian, Georgian Indianized. Pentecostal. So this is Pentecostal. My scholars, my philologists, people studying philologies. Alright, that's the language. Let me back up. You know, so here's the Voynich manuscript, people. Written in the 12th century, copied in the 14th century, 15th century, 1400s. You see, it has a lot to do with nature, man. A lot of drop going on. What is it saying? What does it say? You see trees. Lots of trees. What is it saying? New roots. What is it saying, people? I mean, all these seem like, the thought level, the level of vibration going through this, man. So I wish we could read it. I'm sorry, but I just want to show you the illustrations as we got to some of this last time. And it goes on. What does Wiki say? Every page in the manuscript contains text mostly in an unknown language. No. Pentextual, the language of Prester John's empire. A Hebrew, Georgian, Indianized language of the royal house, right? So every page in this manuscript contains text mostly in an unknown language, but some have extraneous writing in Latin script. The bulk of the text is in the manuscript, 240 pages, is written in an unknown script, pentextual, right? Running left to right. So this is going left to right, which is interesting. Most of the characters are composed of one or two simple pen strokes, while there are some dispute that as to whether certain characters are distinct or not. A script of 20 to 25 characters would account for virtually all of the text. The exceptions are a few dozen rare characters that occur only once or twice. There is no obvious punctuation. What does it mean? What does it mean? The characters appearing in the Voynich manuscript. So you see these characters. What does it mean, people? What does it mean? Come on, my linguists. They can't decipher it, but you got the vibration. What does it mean? Only a few words in the manuscript are considered not to be written in an unknown script. A sequence of Latin letters in the right. Alright, so they still don't have no translations of anything in here. They got the paint, the blue, clear, white, red, brown, green paints of the manuscript, analyzed by the PLMR, XRD, EDS, scanning electron microscopies. I mean, they're going crazy trying to figure this shit out. They're going crazy. The Voynich manuscript is an illustrated codex handwritten in an unknown writing system. The vellum on which it is written had been carbon dated to the early 15th century again. Just like this document said, this goes back to, it was a 15th century copy of the 12th century joint written by Raja Prester John. Right. Going back to the 15th century, it may be composed in northern Italy during the Italian Renaissance. Oh, it may be. Oh, okay. The manuscript is named after Wilfred Voynich, a Polish book dealer who purchased it in 12. So it's not even called that. They just named it after the dude who purchased this thing. All he did was purchase it in 1912, and they called the entire manuscript of Prester John after him, a Polish book dealer. These people fucked up. The Voynich manuscript has been studied by professional and amateur cryptographers, including American and British code breakers from World War I and World War II. Is this play? You got code breakers trying to figure this shit out. Cryptographers trying to figure this shit out. Professional and amateur. It says no one has yet succeeded in deciphering the text, and it has become a famous case in the history of cryptography. The mystery of the meaning and origin of the manuscript has excited the popular imagination, making the manuscript the subject of novels and speculation. None of the many hypotheses proposed over the last 100 years has yet been independently verified. This joint is being held, was donated to Yale. Yale has this thing, man. When you go back to the top, Yale University has this thing, and no one can figure it out. Here's an incredible link, and these people, are just looking into it, so they give you some more information on the Voynich manuscript, introduction. Mysterious book written in an unknown script. No. It's a Hebreo-Georgian Indian language of the royal house. It's not unknown, is it? It's just Pentecostal, the language of Prester John's empire. But to everybody, at Wikipedia, everybody, it's an unknown script and was profusely illustrated with pictures of plants, stars, and chemical secrets. Okay. Is that why they're using all their code breakers to figure this shit out? All their cryptographers? And no one can break it because it has the secrets of plants and stars and chemical secrets? Alright, so he hoped that Kircher would be able to translate the book for him, but as it turned out, Kircher did not succeed. The book, a manuscript codex with almost 250 pages, has come down to us, and even now, almost 4 centuries later, the text cannot be understood. It has become one of the most famous historical riddles, and it just seems to be waiting for someone to solve it. It just seems to be waiting for someone to solve it. While nobody has been able to find the solution to the text, there are plenty of people who believe they have. Many new translations of parts of the manuscript, individual pages, or even incidental words are proposed each year. So people have propositions every year. The problem is that none of these is sufficiently convincing to be acceptable. So they go into it, man. Also, they have sections. They have a herbal section with drawing of herbs, some of which look realistic while others appear imaginary. An astronomical section with illustrations of sun, moon, stars, zodiac symbols. A cosmological sections with mostly circular drawings. A so-called biological sections which contain some possibly anatomical drawings with small human, mostly feminine figures populating systems of tubes transporting liquids. What? Prester John. Oh, Prester John. What are you talking about, Prester John? Prester John, why are you drawing biological shit with anatomical drawings of small humans, mostly feminine figures populating systems of tubes, Prester John? What liquids are being transported, Prester John? Oh, Prester John, do you got the drop? Have you had the drop the whole time, Prester John? Oh, who is Prester John? I mean, we all got to meditate on this. Oh, we all got to understand this one. Who is Prester John? You see, the truth is stranger than fiction. Some of the artwork seem fictional to these people. Your life is a fiction, is a myth, but there's foundation in it, my people, and we're finding the babies in the bathwater to connect us to understand that we have an ancestor here, it appears. It appears, right? We have a King David in the midst. We have a King David calling himself John. DeWitt, David, John. I, Prester John, Lord of Lords. He has this magical kingdom. What are we talking about? At the foot of the Mount Bubbles, up, spring, which changes its flavor hour by hour, night and day, and the spring is scarcely 3 days' journey from paradise, out of which Adam was driven, and anyone tasted thrice of his fountain. From that day he will feel no fatigue, but will, as long as he lives, be a man of 30 years. So Prester John says that there's a fountain that you can drink, and if you drink it, you will be 30 years old forever. Is Prester John 30 years old forever? Here are found small stones called nudiosi, which, if borne about the body, prevent the sight from waxing feeble and restore it where it is lost. So it restores your body. The more the stone is looked at, the keener becomes the sight. In our territory is a certain waterless sea. Have you heard of a waterless sea? Oh, the Sand River, the San Banyan. consisting of tumbling billows of sand never at rest. None have crossed this sea. It lacks water altogether. Yet fish of various kinds are cast upon the beach, very tasty, and the like are nowhere else to be seen. A waterless river, all these things, all this drop. And this book contains an herbal section with the drawing of herbs, astronomical sections, sun, moons, cosmological sections, biological sections with populating systems with tubes transporting liquids, a pharmaceutical section, so-called, because of his drawings of containers next to which various small parts of herbs, leaves, roots have been aligned, a recipes section which contains over 300 short paragraphs. So we got a cookbook, each accompanied by a star in the left margin. So they go into, what does it say? What are we talking about? Of course they don't know, right? Of course they don't know. But what do we know? What have we seen? Well, we know Moses is a basket, baby. We know that Pan is the original name of the earth. And we know that Shem is one of the ancient names of India. And we know that there's a Prester John who is the emperor of the three Indias. And we know that this is part 10 of our investigation of Prester John. So as we build and as we grow, just know that this is what we do. We stick together, we ride together, we drop together. We are water, we flow. And when we need to be ice, we are ice, cold. And when we need to fly, we are air. We are the water of the air. We can fly, we can levitate, we can have our power over fire, water, air, and land. I love all y'all. Because we are, and it is, and it will be, and it will come to pass because Heya exists. Stay up. Suit up. Choose up.